Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Angular Air. I'm your host, Justin Schwarzenberger, and today our topic is continuous integration for Angular applications. Joining us today as panelists, we have Austin McDaniel. Austin, how's it going?
How's it going, everyone? So I just read this really weird Twitter article that Fox News put out about pandas are aggressive, and yeah, I don't know what to think about that.
Do you think you reflect a panda and you're aggressive as well, or do you think you break that norm?
I'm I'm pretty mellow most of the time. Bonnie might disagree though.
All right.
Oh
Speaking of
yeah,
Bonnie,
he's a mess.
we got Bonnie with us. Bonnie, how's it going?
It's good. It's good. I'm pretty excited about this topic, and I'm excited to see Victor again. Hello, Victor.
Hey, how's it going?
So continuous integration, that means I just don't have to show up for work anymore, and it's just going to keep on going? No.
Well, we're automating some things, but
That requires you to write tests.
yeah.
Bonnie, you revealed our guests already.
I'm fired. It's been nice knowing you guys. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
No, but I really am excited to have Victor. I haven't seen Victor in forever.
Very much so. Very much so. All right, we got
Who's
Mike.
that tardy panelist?
Mike's here as well. What's going on, Mike?
Not too much. I apparently decided instead of using a calendar notification, I was waiting until the Chrome YouTube notification came up to say, "Hey, Angular Air started to join." So I'm a little bit late, but I'm here.
Not acceptable.
Perfect, right? As soon as we go
Not
live,
acceptable.
then you decide to join. That works.
This is supposed to be the most important thing in your day. More important than that CLI project thing that you do in your spare time.
CI is one less letter than CLI, so I think you're right.
Yeah, it's more efficient, right? All right, our guest today, we got Victor Mejia back with us. How's it going, Victor?
What is up, guys? I'm super excited to be here today with you guys and hang out with you guys.
Yeah, totally. We're stoked to have you here as well. You want to fill our viewers in about what you got going on, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so let me see. So right now, I'm a senior UI engineer at McGraw-Hill Education. So working in edtech, I really love what I'm doing there. I'm doing courses for LinkedIn Learning and lynda.com. So definitely check those out. I know I got two fellow authors here with Justin and Bonnie too. Let me see. Life. My son, my second kid, he's 6 months now, so he's growing. He's teething, so not sleeping much right now, but that's life right now.
Nice. Yeah, and we mentioned CI and CLI. Your course is on CLI, is that correct? You have one out there?
Yeah, my latest course is on using the Angular CLI. So Mike and Hans know how much I love the CLI. So I throw a lot of love for the CLI.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then I see you've got this test all the things shirt.
Oh yeah. I figured it was appropriate for today, right?
Where do you guys get these shirts from? Mike and Justin did that a couple weeks ago. They both had these really cool nerd humor shirts, and I'm not in the know on that.
I just scour the booths at conferences. I think this one's it's from Sauce Labs, I think. Yeah. So
I go shopping at this place called the Internet.
Personally, that shirt offends me. Me and Tess don't get along.
Yeah.
It must
You
be
want to know what offends Austin? We'll start. Never mind. I'm just kidding. I'm very salty today.
Well, I heard it once say, writing code is fun, right? So writing tests is writing code. So definitely. So therefore, writing tests is fun.
There you go.
I like your attitude, Victor.
There you go.
That's like a proof, right?
Yeah, it's a proof.
You could take a lesson from that, Austin. See what a positive attitude he has.
Positive. All right.
Sorry. I'm picking on Austin today. Didn't you get the memo? It's Pick on Austin Day today.
All right. Let's get into continuous integration. Let's talk about that. Victor, what you got for us?
Yeah. So CI. So I guess what I aim to show today is, so the CLI is awesome, right? I love what the team has done with the CLI and what it's done for developers like myself, my company. But I feel like it leaves you at a very sweet spot where then you can add on additional configuration to tailor to your specific needs, right? So what is a CI? I guess to define it is a process where developers continually commit code into a shared repository several times a day, at least once a day, and that is automatically verified in CI in a automated server. So you have like things like your build and then your tests that are automatically verified. Some popular services out there that you can use for that is Travis CI, Circle CI. I've been using Circle lately, and I'm really digging it. And that's what I'm going to be showing today. A lot of people don't know is that it actually has a free tier. So you can use it for free for your public projects on GitHub. And I've seen Circles.
I hear Circle's all the rage right now.
Yeah, yeah. So
why do you like it better than Travis?
I like the configuration, their workflows that you can configure. It's pretty awesome. I feel like a lot of things work better. I mean, nothing's perfect, and I definitely wish I could write configuration in something other than YAML. But hey, Travis is YAML too, right? Yeah, the UI is better. People say that it's fast. It is fast. So our company has been switching from Jenkins over to Circle CI. So, and that's been a blast. It's the barrier to entry for configuring CI is definitely much lower using something like Circle. So I was used Travis for my public projects before, but I switched over to Circle now. Yeah.
It also has if I remember correctly, an artifact type feature where you can preserve some of your build output. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very easy to add like environment variables. So you can add like tokens for deployment tokens to AWS or Firebase or whatnot. So yeah, I like it a lot.
I heard Circle's faster than Travis. I don't know this whether to be true or not, but I heard that.
I haven't run any benchmarks, but Circle it feels fast. Whatever. I don't know how you could quantify that.
Austin's benchmarks report that zero tests run in Travis at the same time that zero tests run on Circle.
So we're talking continuous integration, but we also heard terms like continuous delivery. Like, what's the difference between those two? And are we talking about a little bit different things there?
Yeah. So even though like Circle CI is something like a service like that is used for continuous integration, you can still do continuous deployments, continuous delivery, right? So continuous integration is where you're verifying the health of your code base as developers check it in, right? Continuous deployment is having like an automatic deployment of say, okay, well, this checks out. Once it is merged, it can be deployed, and then doesn't have to be any like manual work. So technically you could deploy several times a day, or several times a week, and whatnot. So, but Circle CI it allows you to run like any kind of like bash commands, and so you could totally do deployments using Circle. So the process that would look like, so you're working on a feature, you create a feature branch, you do your work. You commit your work, where that is, you have some gateway checks with some pre-commit hooks, whatever you want to verify there. Push up your branch to GitHub. That gets triggered on your CI server where you have an automated build. Your tests are running. You get notified of your build status, whether green means things are okay, red means that it's failing. You usually get an email for these kinds of things. But if your build is green, then you should be able to merge your pull request to GitHub. And then in GitHub, ties very well with something like Circle, where you can have certain checks and say, unless these checks pass in my continuous integration environment, then you can't merge. So then when you merge, that then triggers CD. So then you can deploy to like a staging server and things like that. So.
And to be clear, while the tools that you're talking about and using today are public facing, so requiring a public GitHub profile or repo, and Circle CI, which is public, you can also set up other things that are not necessarily public, correct?
In Circle?
Not just Circle, but just CI in general. So if I have a project I'm working on internally in my company, if I wanted to get into doing something like continuous integration, that's still possible, correct?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So our company,
I don't think Circle CI has on-prem though.
Right, but not necessarily that tooling, just conceptually the same principles and ideas.
Yes. So all the stuff that we do at work is all internal. We have Circle CI Enterprise, where it's only visible to employees in the company, and everything is internal behind a firewall. Yeah.
Do you have to be like a DevOps wizard in order to set this stuff up, or
no? So confession, I hate DevOps. Well, maybe not hate it, but I don't. It's not my forte, and I feel like it's a lot of nuances to get there. But you don't have to be a DevOps expert, but you do have to get comfortable. Possibly debugging through SSH, and be comfortable in your terminal, and be comfortable with Bash, because sometimes your deployment scripts can get really, really large, and even though you can put in your commands in your Circle configuration, sometimes it's just easier to run this Bash script, and then that Bash script will do a bunch of things. So yeah, just be comfortable with things like that. So
that's so odd. Typically, people that love tests love CI and DevOps stuff. You're breaking the norm here.
Yeah.
Cool. So this might be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but thinking about, like, you kind of mentioned the scripts and things like that, and these configuration and things. Is this something that we bring into our repos that as a part of that to keep track of that? I mean, I've done continuous integration stuff in the past where all that configuration is done on the CI server. And so you make changes to those scripts or whatever over time, and you don't have like version history and things like that. And then I've done stuff recently where that's part of the repo and kind of travels with that. So you can have version control and things like that. Any thoughts on that? Or was that something we'll cover? Or?
Yeah. So what I've been using lately, all those scripts, deployment scripts, all that stuff goes with the repo. So again, it's a great way to version them with Git. Circle configuration is part of the repository. The only thing that is really that lives on the server are, would say, like environment variables, because obviously keys like that, you don't want to check them in. And so in your scripts, you can just reference these environment variables that you then manually add on your server so that they're available there. But yeah, the scripts, all configuration, they go with the repo, and that's what I've been using lately. So
yeah, don't check your API secrets into your repo so your CI can pick them up. I know I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah, a couple of students I used to work with, his Twitter account got hacked because he was working on a toy project, and he checked in his Twitter API key, so he was getting spammed through Twitter. But he was being nice. He was kind of being a jerk, but he was being nice. He was just like, "Hey, you should not put your keys in Twitter," So
I remember that.
Don't want to do that.
Cool. Well, do you want to start demoing some stuff for us?
Yeah. I got quite a bit to show. So let me jump into my screen here and see if I could remember how to do this. There we go. All right. Let me know if you could see my code editor here.
Yep.
All right, sweet. Yeah. So again, as I mentioned earlier, this is an Angular CLI project. I love the CLI, honestly, and everything that it does. And like I mentioned, it leaves you at a very sweet spot where you can start adding additional things to get it tailored to your specific needs. So just a quick overview of the app here. So let me just npm start the app here. So this is kind of the workflow that I imagine you would have. So you're able to start your app locally. And again, locally here, I'm using a JSON server, which provides like a dummy API. And then for npm start, I'm starting that and then starting the client, which is just running ngserve with the proxy. So it's just a basic application here where you can search these quote unquote hackers. And it does have some unit tests here already. I also have, so I've been using Firebase quite often lately. I'm digging in a lot. I'm using Firebase hosting, and that's how I'm going to demonstrate the automatic deployment. And I didn't know that you could hook up functions directly to Firebase hosting. So I have a basic function here that will serve as the API, and that's just doing a search for this list. So locally, that will be the workflow, right? You're able to do something locally, and then once you build, you should also verify that app. So let me go ahead and build my app here, and I'm running it with the production flag. I'm using progress false to sometimes in CI you want to look at logs, and it just all that noise clears away. And then let me just npm start npm run serve Firebase. Another cool thing is that the Firebase tools allow you to preview your functions locally along with the hosting. And I found that pretty awesome. I think Firebase provides the lowest barrier to entry to serverless. So I was pretty excited about that. So again, that's just my local app. It's the Firebase hosting. It's serving the dist directory along with the cloud function here, which is doing its proxy, and that's all done through just some rules, right? So this allows you to do the single page app routing, and any call. I'm doing some rewrites here to API/hackers is just redirecting it to the Firebase function.
Okay, really quick, since you're talking Firebase functions, I was playing with this a little while back.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Running those Firebase functions locally, do you have to be going through HTTPS on your local host, or are you able to not get around that?
Yeah, it didn't launch through HTTPS, so I think it worked without that.
So I wonder if it's been updated, because when I was trying it to run the functions locally, it wanted to go through HTTPS for the URL.
Okay.
And okay, cool.
Yeah, but I got really excited about that. I was like, this is freaking awesome. And so cool. So that's that. So, and then I have a basic test suite, nothing major. So npm test is using a single run flag, which I recommend you do. You run it once, and that will be useful in CI. And also running the code coverage flag, right? You should definitely be generating coverage reports for your test suite. And then I don't know.
Speaking about code coverage, after you like generate your code coverage, are you like posting those results anywhere where you can see them?
You can. So there's a lot of cool services out there, like Coveralls or CodeCov, where you can post results there, and then it'll report back in your PR like what's the deltas in code coverage and things like that. But I won't be showing that today. But yeah, you could do that.
Victor,
so yep.
I think we lost your screen share.
Oh, okay.
But on a positive note, we get to see you.
All right. I wonder what happened here. Screen 2. Thanks for telling me. Is it back?
Yes. Perfect.
All right, sweet. Yeah, so if there's people who aren't familiar with code coverage, you can open this with your default browser. Why does it do that? There we go. And then you get a nice report of what pieces of your code are covered. So you can highlight here things that have not been tested in your application, right? Tells you some stats here about your entire code coverage. So, and then again, the CLI gives you that configured out of the box, which is awesome. Just use the code coverage flag there. So where I'd like to start is, so let's go to the Karma JS file. This is already generated for you, right? It tells me my test suite passed. 32 specs ran, right? But I like to see more detailed output. Other frameworks like Mocha or Jest, I think they do that out of the box. But that's easy to do. So here just is use a Karma spec reporter. We add that to the plugins. I've already npm installed it. And then in the reports array, here we can add text summary here. And then finally, we can replace this with spec instead of progress. And so let's run npm test again here. And so it'll pick up that updated configuration, and instead of just giving me this summary output, I'm going to get a detailed output as my test suite is running. I love that green check mark. And then at the end, you get the coverage summary, the exact same thing that we saw there in the HTML report. You get it here. So statements, 96 branches. A little low on functions, and then lines and things like that. So with just that simple thing, you can have this. And again, this is very useful because what's in CI, you can actually view the terminal output. So you're able to see what tests are passing, what tests are failing, right? The second thing that I like to do, and again, with CI, a best practice is like testing needs to be like part of the culture, and that's sometimes hard to do. And especially in corporate environments where, we just want to ship, adding tests without more time. The one thing that I like to do in the teams that I work in is you enforce code coverage. That may be seem a little mean, but I feel like it starts creating a test, driven culture where you can actually start creating tests. That's easy to do.
Test coverage bully. That's what I'm just going to start referring to you as that now. You're the test coverage bully.
You leave him alone. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
But that is really mean, though, Victor, forcing
it is mean.
To have standards in testing.
Yeah, it is mean. And it's not to say that, having 95% code coverage means you have no bugs, right? Because obviously here I have just unit testing. And I'm sure you've all seen that meme where have like, oh, unit test passed, but integration test failed. And it's like two doorknobs that are clicking with each other. And then each one works individually, but together it doesn't work, But I feel like you got to start somewhere, right? And then this can be low. So what I like to do is just go to your thresholds. I think 85 is like, I don't know, a good aim to shoot for. And obviously I am above that, right? But say I was, I don't know, pretty hard on myself, and I said 100 there, right? So once I run my npm test, and then you try to run it against the code coverage bully here, even though each one of your specs are passing, your entire test suite will fail, right? Because you're under this coverage. So like, oh yeah, 32 of 32 success, but yeah. It doesn't meet your threshold, right?
But even though, to get back to what you were saying, though, of setting the mindset in your organization that testing is a priority isn't just a matter of hitting code coverage, because code coverage, as you mentioned, you could have 100% code coverage and still have bugs, even unit test bugs, because of how you're testing and your testing strategy. So I don't know if you wanted to get into that at all about how to set that mentality of writing good tests versus just writing tests to hit a percentage goal.
Yeah, and I definitely seen it in teams that I've worked with where like, oh, it's under the code coverage, let me just add, some meaningless tests here. It's a hard balance. And for that reason, I wouldn't want to set this too high. Obviously 100, I'm just joking there, right? But you want to, start lower, maybe, I don't know, 50 or 60 or something. But yeah, you want to, because sometimes, how should I say this? It could end up being a waste of time when you're just trying to write tests to get that code coverage, right? You want to test your and I'm just talking here about unit testing, right? You want to test the important units, if there's, I don't know, a date formatting function, okay, well, that's pretty important, right? You should test the heck out of that. If it's like a currency formatter, then definitely. Something else, whether this should be displayed on the component, okay, maybe not, you know. Yeah, it's definitely a balance that you need to strike, and that'll probably come about, you know, in your pull request, because tests should be clean code as well, right? So when I review pull requests, I look at a lot of people that just gloss over the test and like, oh, let me jump to the code. I'd look at the test as well and make sure that's clean code too. So.
I think one of the key things in thinking of the overall picture is that what we're trying to do is trying to automate some of this stuff to have that pipeline of committing PRs and getting them pushed through, and support our business workflow and our business needs. And there's these elements here where we can set those things and do these things in an automated fashion, and that's the power, right?
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is definitely something you should be discussed with the team, something that they're all comfortable with, especially if they're new to testing, right? Hitting that number is going to be pretty darn hard, but that could be easily incremented over time. Yeah, good. That's an awesome discussion on the enforcing threshold. It does suck though, I must admit. Yeah, so. So what on top of this, so you know, we have the terminal output, because I feel like CI starts in your machine, right? It starts at the developer's experience and then carries on to once you're on the continuous integration service. So we have these two things. We have terminal reporting, code coverage running, code coverage thresholds checked, right? Another thing, next thing I want to talk about is actually formatting with a code formatter, something like Prettier. I know Austin loves Prettier there, but I feel like
are you just touching on all the subjects you know I don't like?
Oh man, I feel like ensuring clean and formatted code should also be part of CI. But like so many times I've been, you know, reviewing pull requests and I'm like, fix the indentation here, or this is off here. And TSLint is awesome, right? Like I love tools like ESLint and TSLint. But I feel like for formatting Prettier rocks. And so those two can actually live pretty happy together. And I do want to give a shout out to Mr. James Henry. Thank you for all that you've done for, you know, the Prettier and TypeScript community.
James Henry is awesome.
Yeah, he's done such cool stuff. So Justin, definitely give him props from me.
Sure.
Don't give him props. We don't want it to go to his head. He's gonna get all full of himself and he'll think he's like awesome. Well, he is awesome, but don't tell him.
So I was playing out Prettier, and then I actually wrote a blog post. I'll put it in the show notes of how you can integrate both, right? So you want to start off by installing the extension, right? Code formatter, and you don't have to, right? Because either way, you're gonna enforce stuff through a pre-commit hook. One thing I like to do is set the format on save to true here, and then as you're editing your files, it'll pick up a local Prettier RC configuration and then format that accordingly. So let's go ahead and just create that right now. So it's a Prettier RC. I think it could be a Prettier JSON file as well. And the rules are pretty basic, right? So there are some defaults. I think everything I have here is listed as default except for the print width, which is the column width. That's set to 80, but I leave it to 100 because, you know, with TypeScript, sometimes you want, it's very easy to have longer lines. But I like to, even if it's a default, explicitly put them on the configuration. That way everyone knows, okay, what we're using. And then the whole tabs versus spaces, like, argument goes away. You want to use tabs, right? But then when you commit, that could be taken care of, and then it goes into your repository. But the developer is happily developing in tabs, so all that argument kind of goes out the window. You don't want to format everything, right? So you want to have you can ignore some things, and then you can do a .prettier ignore file here. I'm just going to add some things here.
Now, do you have your CI committing code, or are you doing these like lint staging and things like that?
Can you repeat the question?
So you mentioned like having prettier, like reformat everything. Are you having your CI like reformat and commit code back? Were you talking about doing this like git commit staging?
Yeah, this will be part of your pre-commit hook. So before you try to commit, it'll run prettier, check your files, reformat them, and then commit them for you. So that's Firebase RC. So obviously you don't want to format everything. Like it's very annoying when I'm in a big JSON file, and then I save a field and I hit save, and Prettier just formats the heck out of it. I was like, I don't want that, right? So obviously you don't want to do everything. That can easily be configured with a Prettier ignore file. Now, what I love to use for commit hooks is Husky. I don't know if you use that, but that easily allows you to just add an npm script, and you could do like a pre-commit hook or a pre-push hook, and run stuff. So here in the well, let me first add another one. So what are some good tools to use for automatically doing that? So I've used pretty-quick and then lint-stage, and then those have worked pretty well. However, the drawback to using those plugins was that so say I change the value here, and then I left this on purpose, right? This is not formatted according to Prettier standards, but even though I change code here, it'll go ahead and change the entire file. And then sometimes that's not desired, right? Especially in a large code base when you're introducing Prettier, and then your pull request ends up being like tons of just white space changes, and you don't want to do that. But again, Mr. James Henry there, and then developed by the awesome folks at Narwhal, they have precise commits, and so that will only format the exact lines or characters that you modified, which is a pretty a game changer, right? And then in a pre-commit hook, all you could do is just run. And I reference this just because it's a binary, right? So actually, let me change. I feel like pre-commit should do two things. It should check for lint errors, and then it should check for formatting. And so I'm using the npm run all package, where you get this nice little script where you can run things in sequence, and then you want to run your lint script, and then you want to run your precise commits, right? And I already have Husky and all these plugins here. And so let me go ahead and change it, the formatting to something. Let's see. Let me just do a dummy commit here. Oh, how come that didn't? All right, not sure why I didn't run, but you should. I'll show it. I have a repo where everything's working. This pre-commit should have run. I'm not exactly sure why it didn't run here. Hopefully, when I jump into the repo, that'll show. But one thing that this precise commits doesn't do is automatically commit the files for you. The other ones do, and so there's a feature request to have them add like an auto commit flag. So I'm not sure what they're gonna do with that. But I'll
quick question on the lint
Yep.
part. So the lint part, if the lint part fails, then will that pre-commit fail?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the precise commit part, like that theoretically won't fail. It'll just make the changes for you, right?
Exactly. So you could I think, was it precise commits or prettier CLI? One of those that you could have a check. So even in CI, you could have a check where it'll scan your code base with the a whitelisted files, and if those files don't conform to the prettier config, then that can fail. Yeah. So that can also be configured there too.
So then, like, just kind of summarize the concept here is that you have stuff on your CI side, that the server that is going to confirm that all the code is formatted and everything the way that you want it for your business. But then you also have on the individual local side a way to, right before you do your commit, to run this logic to make sure that you as a developer have got everything in order before you push that code up there.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And again, yeah, I'll check on the other repo that I have everything set up. I'm not sure why it's not working here. I guess it's the live demoing, right? Cool. So so at this point, I feel like everything is set up locally, right? We started with our spec reporting. We updated our Karma.js file. We have a pre-commit hook, which again should be working. So now let's start talking about going to CI, right? So I'm going to jump into a project here that it's the exact same project, and then I added some additional npm scripts here, right? So let's look at that. So I added deploy staging and deploy prod. So again, this will run a build and then use Firebase, use the staging alias, and then deploy that to what I've defined as staging project. And then there's a deploy prod, which is the exact same thing, but it'll deploy to the production alias. And you can see that here in the Firebase.json, the Firebase RC file, right? These are two separate projects that I've set up, and I gave them aliases, right? So as you want to promote builds once they check out in staging, you want to promote them to something like production, right? So those are the two ones, and then you can switch Firebase projects, but just using Firebase use. Let me see. So I have a test CI. This is what I run. So a single run with the code coverage, and again progress false, so I could have cleaner terminal output in my CI, and then the CI script, which will run linting and then test CI. And again, the exact same thing here. I have the pre-commit hooks here. So that's pretty much all I've added here. And then let's look at circle configuration. I did this because I don't want to sit here and write 100 lines of YAML. So let me just cover this thing. So all right, so circle config. So that's version 2. That's the latest version of Circle. Version 1, I think, it's been deprecated, and they will not. No, I believe they will no longer support it. So, but if you write Circle, you should be doing version 2. If you're looking at docs, make sure you're looking at version 2, right? There's a way, so I don't have to repeat this in every job in Circle. You can define an alias, right? And this will be set up. So this is just define the working directory, and then use a Docker image here, which I'm using this one here, which will give me Node version 8, and then all the modern browsers. So things like Chrome and Chrome Headless will be there. And that's something I forgot to mention also in the Karma.conf.js file. I changed things to Chrome Headless, right? So I've been using that lately. It allows you to run a full instance of Chrome without the full memory overload. So that's another freebie that you can do there. So that's set up, and then you can just start defining jobs, right? And then these are, you can give these names whatever you want, okay? And they don't have to be related. You can start just defining each individual job. And what some developers don't like is that they feel like you write your npm scripts and then they feel like you have to recreate kind of everything in Circle. Yes and no, but it's not that bad. So let's start defining our jobs. Check out and install. Again, I'm going to run my setup, the steps for this. Check out the Git repo, and then this is just some fancy things to create a cache of the dependencies. Okay, so that if something in your package JSON hasn't changed, then it's gonna save time and not rerun npm install again. Okay, so that's all it's doing: run npm install and then saving that cache. So that's one job. Second job is like, okay, I want to test my code, right? Okay, so let's do our setup. Let's check out, restore the cache, and then you can give this a name, so that'll show up in your Circle interface. And then here I'm going to run the CI npm script, and that's what I run, which will run linting and will run my unit test, right? So that's my test job. I also want a build job, right? You want to run a production build, right? So I just have the same exact thing, but in this case, I'm just running npm run build. Then I have two deploy jobs, right? One, deploy staging, which will, again, do exact same thing, restoring the cache. And then to give multiple commands, this is what I was talking about. You could just kind of run it. I can put all this in a bash script, but here is just 4 lines. I'm okay putting it here. If it's something much more complex, you could just extract it out to a file. And so what I do here is see functions, because Firebase Functions has its separate package.json. So go in there, install dependencies, go back up, and then run deploy staging, which will use a Firebase hosting to deploy to my staging project. And then the deploy prod job will be the exact same thing, except it'll run the deploy prod script. And then you can specify as many jobs as you want, right? So now with the workflows,
question for you on that.
Yep.
Real quick, sorry. So for Firebase, for deployment Firebase, the local machine have to have a user account or the Firebase authentication set up to connect to that? How does that work in this scenario?
Yeah, that's a good question. So locally, you're authenticated in your machine, right? So there's a way that you can do. I think Firebase login CI, and then that'll prompt you to log in, then spit out a token for you here. And so once we go into Circle, so let me go to this project, and then let me go to the settings, and then environment and variables. And you can add an environment variable here. And I've added Firebase _token. So the neat thing about the Firebase CLI is that it'll look for this environment token. If it's there, it'll use it. So you don't even need to reference like, $$ Firebase token in your deployment scripts. It'll just look for and check if it's the environment. And so that's where you put in that token here.
Cool. And so is there a way to then set up those targets as well in Circle CI? So if you have a token for staging and a token for prod?
I'm not sure. I'm using the same token to deploy to both because they're both my projects. So I think the same token works for both.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I wonder in a case of something else, maybe not Firebase or something, right? Where you need to have environment variables, but for a different target. You can set that up.
Gotcha.
In Circle CI.
Yeah. You can set that up here.
Cool.
And then if we look at workflows, so workflows is the way you hook up the jobs, right? So it's the way you can specify how your separate jobs are connected and then how you want them to flow. Okay, so I want, so it does seem kind of long, but it's not that bad. So this is my workflow, my build and deploy workflow, and I'm going to specify the jobs, right? So first I want to check out and install dependency. Then I want to run the test, which will require that to be done. Then I want to run my build, which will require my test suite to pass. Deployment to staging would require my build to pass, which would then require my test to pass, which requires this to check out. So you can kind of see how the tree starts to build up. Now you see this filters branches only. So what this is doing is this job will automatically run once there's a commit to master. So for example, if I open up a pull request, and I'll go through the entire flow. If I open up a pull request, and then that checks out, and then I merge it to my branch, this job is going to kick off. So it's automatically going to be deployed to Firebase. And then the neat thing that I'm doing here, so production here, I don't want to do it manually. So I'm going to have a hold here which is a type of approval. And so what this allows you to do is to manually go in there and click approve. Like, so like once you verify that's looks okay in staging, you click there, it's approved, and then it'll kick off the deployment to production. And you can see here it requires a hold. So another way that you can set this up is by tags. So sometimes you want to release things using a tag. So if you push like a tag to your repository, it can detect that and automatically deploy that. So that's another way that you can do. But today I want to demonstrate how to do the manual approval here. So again, it's not that bad. It's about 90 lines of YAML here. So let's go ahead and make a change, right? So right now I have my staging here. So let me refresh that. I have my staging app here, and then the one that I'm calling production here. So again, this is using Firebase hosting, and then using a Firebase Cloud Function as well. So it's pretty cool stuff here. So let me do like the workflow that you would actually kind of do. So so right now, let me add another column that'll display the hacker's IP address here, right? Okay, so let me go to this component. So here will be IP address, and then here it would be hacker-IP. I believe it's just IP. Let me check here. Yeah, it's just IP. So then say I was careless, and then this is supposed to be the status message, and I do have a unit test that checks for that. So as a good citizen, you should run your test locally before pushing up to a pull request, right? But sometimes developers don't do that, and that's fine. That's when we have CI, and you won't let them merge them unless your test suite is passing, right? So let's wait for this to finish, and this should fail right now.
I'm gonna laugh if it passes.
Yeah. Okay. So again, my test suite failed, right? It should.
You're just too good at this, Victor.
It's expecting the status, but it's conflicting, right? So status message and status are two different things. But let me just go ahead and continue with this thing. So let me go ahead and add this stuff. Yes. Cool. And let me commit this. Adding IP address. But here you're actually seeing the Husky pre-commit hook, right? So it's going to run the linting, which should check out, and then it's going to run a precise commit. So it didn't find any files to modify, right? But if it was like a TypeScript file that would have been modified, it would have modified that according to Prettier, and then it won't commit it. So I would have to make a second commit in this case. So let me go ahead and push this. Cool. And then I'm pushing this feature branch up. Awesome. So let me go to my project here.
Quick, Victor.
Yep.
So you just created that branch locally, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're pushing it to Origin for the very first time right now, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and then this is going to pick it up, right? I think that's I wanted to make that point because it's kind of cool with the workflow of the fact that, this branch didn't have to be created already up on Origin. It's going to pick that up.
Yeah. So if I go here and then check out the builds, Circle CI is already running that thing. Like my feature branch is up there, and it's just like, hey, I'm gonna run it on this branch, right? So you can kind of start seeing what it's doing, right? So just storing the cache. Just go to the workflows. This is my current branch. This workflow is running, and this is I love this. This is such a cool visual way. So it's check out install. It's going to run my test, and then it's going to run my build, and then it's going to be a hold to deploy to production. You don't see here the workflow that's going to be automatically deployed once you merge. You'll see that after we merge our PR, right? So, but Circle CI is like already like a workhorse, right? It's already running. So I'm going to create a pull request here, right? And then hit create pull request here. And then it's waiting on these checks, right? And then there you see my test suite failed, right? And then how you can configure these, again, GitHub and Circle are BFFs. So just go to branches. You can edit the protected branch and then say, I'm going to require these status checks to pass before merging. And you can, I'm going to have my build, check out install, and my test. I want these three things to pass before a developer on this project can merge the pull request, right? And so obviously here I'm admin, so I'm able to use my administrator rights to do so, right? But other team members would not be able to do this. And so here, this one is expected, and it didn't continue because test is failing, right? And so the developer can then go in here and say, okay, well, what's going on? And then let's go look at our log, and then, okay, so linting passed, and I see all my beautiful output there, like, oh, okay, this test didn't pass, right? My build is red. And then you should get an email that's saying, hey, your build is not passing, right? So then we can go ahead and just, this was a status message, right? You can go ahead and just add X. Then once I'm able to commit, I'm gonna push that up to my my branch, right? And again, there's been another change to that branch, so Circle CI will pick it up again. And so you see here, refresh that, things are running again. And then if I go back to the UI, go check on my current builds, that build is running again. So it's going to take a couple minutes. I do want to take it through the end-to-end flow so you can see the automatic deployment. And again, so our goal here is to add this new column to our application, right?
So while that's running, can you go back to the pull request?
Yep.
This is one of the things that I really like about Circle over Travis is that each of the jobs are listed out separately. So as your workflow is processing from one job to the next, you get to see the status of each one right here rather than having to go to a separate site to get the current status of where your CI process is.
Yeah, exactly. I love that too. It's really awesome to just go and see here, and then your team members can just wait for this, and it'll let them know. So, and that is in real time too. Like, okay, the test passed. Now it's just waiting for the build, right? So,
and the other pro tip is that if you look at the favicon, shows orange right now or yellow because it's running, and when it's done, it'll either go to green or red on the favicon. So you don't even need to have the tab active.
Gotcha. Oh, right. Oh, this is talking about this.
Yep. Up top.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's cool. I had not noticed that. That's pretty sweet.
I only know that because I have a bunch of red tabs open.
Oh, that's an awesome pro tip. I had no idea about this. Cool. Oh, this one too, huh? Blue one is running. Awesome.
He's a handy guy to have around.
Yeah. Well, he works on my favorite tool of the world, so yeah.
Oh yeah, that too.
Cool. All right, so I think everything passed, right? So again, so I have my build and deploy hold, right? So my test and my builds are passing in CI, and then I no longer see anything prevent me to merge. and see my builds. That was a success, right? So let me go ahead and merge this. Squash and merge. So again, I had a workflow checking for when I merged to master, right? So let's go to workflows. Yeah, you go. See it's running, and there's a workflow running on my master branch, right? And then this is the exact workflow that we set up. So it's going to run the entire thing again. Check out install, running the test, running the build. It's automatically going to run the deployment to staging, and then this one's going to be on hold, right? So again, we don't have anything here. It had no deployments yet here. So it's going to take a couple minutes for us to see this. And the cool thing, you can at any point in time, you can click on it on your job in the workflow and see where things are going. So that was a success. And then next is going to go to my test. And again, things are really fast. So I really been enjoying working with Circle a lot.
So Victor, earlier you mentioned that this relationship with DevOps, not really feeling it, right? I'm the same way. I'm not really in love with DevOps and doing that stuff. But when you see stuff like this and you run into these things, it does get pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I hear you. It was cool to have my own like CI thing and continuous deployment thing going on, you know. But I feel like nowadays, as a front end engineer or front end developer, or whatever you want to call, you can't get away from it. You gotta learn how to look, how to get in there and look at your CI config, and then how to configure things like that. You can't be scared. So maybe that's what it is. There was a little fear of like, I'm gonna break something, or but you can't be afraid of digging in there.
My fear is about, I don't want to be doing it on the regular basis.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like everything you learn how to do. And it's like, oh, well, let's have that person do it because they know now how to set up Circle CI, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is certainly cool.
Yeah.
Time to jump in the Wayback Machine. It's like if you ever did reports, whether or not it was like Active Reports or Crystal Reports, you never put on your resume because you didn't want to be the reports guy.
All right.
You didn't want to get
you just super dated yourself, Brock.
Oh, it's cool. I'm old. It's all good.
Hey, life happens.
That wasn't even the beginning of my career. That was a few years in.
So, you got all this stuff set up, right? For the whole pipeline for every time we commit and push, it's going to run all this stuff. So how important is it then that this stuff runs fast? And is it a scenario where we can get into, we've got the tests and everything, and maybe like end-to-end tests as well that take a long time, that every time we make a little change and a little commit, that everybody's waiting on the build to run or the CI to run?
Yeah. Oh, too often, and I work. It's a huge company, right? So sometimes, like here, I'm just myself, right? And so my builds run really fast. But sometimes you're just like queued, and it's on the queue. You're waiting for someone else's build to run, and then obviously, the more money you pay, I think the more builds you can run at the same time. But yeah, just a matter of waiting. So you submit a pull request, go get some water or coffee, and then you come back.
You know how you avoid that? Just commit directly.
Living on the edge.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the challenges, right? Because if I make a PR and I get a suggestion to change a little piece of it, right? To change this formatted text or whatever. Well, I can make that change really quick, but now everybody's got to wait for the whole CI system to run before we can get to the merge point of that, right?
Yeah.
So how do you find that balance? Is there a point at which you say, well, how do I rework the CI environment scenario to allow that process to still stay fast, but still catch everything? I don't know.
Yeah.
You could remove your test. Then it would be super.
I was going to suggest that, like sometimes when you're doing like visual regression testing, like that can take a long time, right? Like some of the projects that work, their entire CI thing takes like 30 minutes, and so that's a lot. It's hard, man, but I feel like not everything has to be done in CI, so
I used to work at this company and we had this rule. You can commit directly, but if you break the build, you have to buy donuts for everyone the next day.
Oh, wow.
I bought donuts 6 times.
That sounds
I worked there 1 week.
Oh man.
So the other thing you can do in Circle is you can run things concurrently. So you can have multiple processes run at the same time. So
Yes.
I know with the CLI, a lot of the end-to-end tests get sharded so that there's different sections and different groups of them so they can be running concurrently.
Gotcha.
They're asking on the live chat if you run end-to-end tests on CI.
Yeah, so I think what you can do is trigger that, but then connect to something like Sauce Labs. So you can talk to Sauce Labs within CI, and then you want to have that run your end-to-end test.
There you go, Rashid.
Yep. All right, so yeah, let's look at our workflow. So build, and then look, our deployment and staging automatically run because we merge, right? So we look at the build output for that. I see my deploy job here. The build checked out is using the awesome Firebase function and hosting, using the staging, and deployment complete, right? It deployed to this one. So the moment of truth, if we go to staging URL here and I refresh, there's my new feature, right? Which run through CI. And so, yay. And then this one is not there yet, right? So that's the process you want to do, right? Okay, it checks out in my staging. And then I can go back to my workflows here. Master, it's on hold, right? Yeah, so let me go ahead and approve that. And then it'll kick off the job for deployment to production. And then once that's done, this one should check out. And again, this is just one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is it could detect when you push up a tag to your repository and kick off that way. But this should be really quickly, so we could just wait for that. Man, like I feel like tooling is like the best thing that's happened to front-end developers. You know, like I'm using my favorite tools here, like Circle. I'm using the Angular CLI. I'm using Firebase tools. It's definitely super cool where things have progressed to. So let's wait for that quickly to finish, just because I want to see it end to end.
Yeah, and you mentioned the tooling. I mean, that's what's kind of cool about the Angular CLI, right? Is that you have all the scripts and things that can run through the CLI to do your testing and all those sort of things. And now you just plug those into your CI pipeline in your scripts, and you have that way to call that stuff and wire all that up, right?
Right. Right now, it's updating the cloud functions on what I'm calling. Yeah, that checked out. Success. So let me refresh here, and then that's been promoted now to my production site. So cool. That's wraps it up for what I have to show. So let me unless there's questions where I want to screen share, I guess I'll turn that off.
Yeah, we can go back.
There we go. Cool.
That's very cool. I like it. You know, a lot of stuff to set up, right? A lot of things to go through and things like that. But super valuable once you're there, right?
Yeah. Again, I'm no DevOps expert, like so I'm heavy UI front engineering, but I was able to dig in and use this stuff. So you got to be comfortable with your terminal, with command line, and configuration, things like that. So
very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions for Victor before we wrap up? We're at the top of the hour, a little past top of the hour, but that's okay. All right.
I got nothing else.
They want a link to the app. Williams Watchway would like a link to the app. But I think, Justin, you have to do that because we cannot drop links in your
show
chat.
notes.
Well, do you have show notes? Yeah, I have a bunch of links that I reference and stuff, so I'll send that out and make sure that's included. So
cool. We'll tweet that out.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Anybody have any picks today? Mike?
Did you come up next week? Last one, Salt Lake City's Rotten Egg.
You're trying to steal picks. I did not pick ngconf. Nice try though, Vonnie. You picked it earlier. It's written on your board behind you.
Sorry, Mike.
My first one is actually pertinent to today's show. So the CLI has a feature called bundle budgets. I think I've demoed it here on the things I learned, or this I learned previously, that you can specify different thresholds that your build will fail if you have a specific bundle, or however you configure it, that your total script size is over a certain threshold that will fail, and then therefore would fail your CI process as well. And you can set that to show warnings or show errors that, based off of different thresholds. So just something to take advantage of with your CI process, not just, hey, my test failed or my build failed, but also I don't want my bundles or my groupings of code to get too big.
That's pretty awesome. See, enforcing things is not that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, is there a reporter for that as well, so you can do kind of the formatting like Karma and stuff like that?
For the budgets?
Yeah.
No, it just shows either a warning or an error based off of when you run ng build, and it's only enforced if you run the production build, because it doesn't make sense to have a threshold if you run the dev build, because it's not going to get deployed anywhere, or at least it shouldn't. The other one is a feature that I haven't played with yet, but it looks really, really cool in VS Code, called log points, that essentially you can put log messages into your code base and into your editor that will run and output to your log, but not be actual part of your code. It's essentially like a breakpoint type thing that's ancillary to your code that will run when your code runs. Very cool.
I have a pick too.
Cool. All right, Mike, are you done?
I'm done. I will turn the floor over to Austin.
Okay, Austin, you may go.
I feel like we're in kindergarten or something. So there is this tool called Better Touch Tool. If you've got a Mac with a touch bar, like when you notice when you like open different applications, right? Like it shows different stuff on the touch bar. You can actually use this tool to like entirely change your touch bar and things like that. So I've actually like know how the function keys are gone on like the Mac. I've actually got it programmed where when I'm in VS Code, it's got the step in, step out, and it's got a little icon for it and everything like that. So Better Touch Tool, really cool.
Nice. All right, Victor, do you have anything last you want to plug?
No, if you just want to care what I'm doing, if you like what I showed, just follow me on Twitter. I'm working on some upcoming courses too with LinkedIn Learning. So yeah, check that out.
All right, what's your Twitter handle? Shout it out.
_ Victor Mejia. That's MEJIA.
What are you doing for LinkedIn Learning?
My next course?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stuff like this. So more like workflows. So how should I summary? So CI is going to be part of that. So things that you can do to be productive while developing Angular apps. So a lot of config, some DevOpsy stuff there too. So
very
cool.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to that.
Yep.
All right. Well, Victor, thanks a lot for coming on, sharing the stuff, taking your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I had a blast hanging out with you guys. So yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having you back again. Definitely come back too. We got to get you back on as a panelist for some.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
let me know.
Cool.
Awesome. All right, that's a wrap for this week. Next week, ngconf, we're actually going to be doing a live show at lunchtime on Friday. It should be pretty crazy, but it's the end of the week, and I'm still not sure how we're going to broadcast that. If it's going to be through the regular ngconf channel or we'll have it here, but we'll get something figured out. All right. See you, everyone.